Captain Marcus Rodriguez adjusted his dress uniform one final time as the transport pod approached the massive crystalline structure floating in Earth's orbit. The Galactic Council's headquarters ship gleamed like a diamond against the backdrop of stars, its geometric patterns pulsing with soft blue light. Behind him, Ambassador Juliana Quessy took deep, measured breaths, her dark eyes fixed on the approaching station. "Remember the briefing," she whispered, more to herself than to Marcus. "No sudden movements, no showing of teeth, no direct eye contact with the Viridians." The pod docked with a gentle thud, and Marcus felt his heart hammering against his ribs. This was humanity's moment, first contact with the Galactic Council after centuries of wondering if we were alone in the universe. The preliminary communications had gone well, but this face-to-face meeting would determine humanity's place among the stars. The airlock cycled, revealing a corridor that seemed to be made of living crystal. Their escort, a tall figure with iridescent scales and 4 arms, beckoned them forward. Marcus recognized the species from their briefings, a Centaurian, one of the Council's diplomatic corps. "Welcome, Earth representatives," the Centaurian's translator device conveyed in perfect English. "The Council awaits." The chamber they entered was vast, with delegates from dozens of species arranged in tiered seating. Some floated in anti-gravity fields, others were suspended in special environmental chambers, and still others seemed to shift between solid and gaseous states. At the center, on an elevated platform, sat the Viridian delegation. The Viridians were impressive figures, tall, with skin that rippled with patterns of light, and eyes that seemed to contain entire galaxies. Their reputation as the Council's founder species and masters of biotechnology was well-earned. High Chancellor Vexther rose from his seat, his bioluminescent patterns shifting to what Marcus hoped was a welcoming configuration. "Humans," his translator conveyed, "you stand before the Galactic Council, seeking admission to our community of species." Marcus stepped forward as rehearsed, reaching into his pocket for Earth's gift, a crystal containing the complete works of human literature, art, and music. It was meant to be a gesture of openness, of sharing our culture. The movement was smooth, practiced, exactly as they had rehearsed 1,000 times. But as Marcus's hand emerged from his pocket, the chamber erupted into chaos. Viridian guards materialized from seemingly nowhere, their weapons trained on the human delegation. High Chancellor Vexther's patterns had shifted to angry reds and blacks. "Assassination attempt," the translator devices screamed in multiple languages. "The humans bring weapons to the sacred chamber." Marcus froze, the crystal gift half withdrawn from his pocket. "No, wait, this is a misunderstanding." Ambassador Quessy stepped forward, her hands raised. "It's a cultural gift, nothing more." But the damage was done. In Viridian culture, reaching into concealed spaces during formal ceremonies was an ancient signal of betrayal, a gesture reserved for assassins and oath-breakers. No amount of explanation could undo the instinctive horror their hosts had experienced. The humans were escorted back to their pod under heavy guard. For 3 tense days, Earth's governments waited for the Council's judgment. When it came, it was harsh beyond their worst fears. "Humanity has demonstrated itself to be unpredictable and dangerous," the Council's decree stated. "Your species' history of violence, combined with your diplomatic transgressions, makes you unfit for integration into galactic society. You are hereby quarantined to your solar system. Any attempt to venture beyond Mars will be met with immediate force." Within weeks, automated defense platforms were stationed throughout the solar system, their weapons aimed inward. The stars that had seemed so close, so attainable, were now forever out of reach. Or so the Council thought. In a secure facility beneath the Atacama Desert, Dr. Naomi Patel watched the quarantine platforms being deployed through advanced telescopes. Her team of scientists and engineers worked silently around her, their faces lit by holographic displays showing the alien technology's capabilities. "They think they're caging us," she murmured, her fingers tracing patterns in the air as she manipulated the holographic data. "But they've just given us the motivation to become something they never imagined possible." She turned to her assistant, Dr. Marcus Rodriguez. the same man whose innocent gesture had doomed humanity's first contact. He had traded his captain's uniform for a researcher's lab coat, determined to help find a way to undo his unintentional mistake. "Begin Project Phoenix," she commanded. "If they won't give us the stars, we'll take them for ourselves." In orbit, the alien platforms continued their silent watch, unaware that their presence was not preventing humanity's expansion into space. It was catalyzing it. The greatest secret mission in human history was about to begin, and the galaxy would never be the same. 5 years after the quarantine, the underground facility beneath the Atacama Desert had transformed from a simple research station into a vast complex of laboratories and testing chambers. Dr. Naomi Patel stood in the central control room, watching as technicians prepared for another test of the quantum displacement drive. The experimental engine sat in a heavily shielded chamber, its crystalline matrix gleaming under the harsh laboratory lights. This was their 15th attempt at creating a propulsion system that could bypass the Council's detection systems. The previous 14 had ended in failure, but each failure brought them closer to success. "Primary containment field stable," reported Dr. Raj Kumar, their lead quantum physicist. His fingers danced across holographic controls as he initiated the startup sequence. "Beginning quantum matrix alignment." Naomi felt Marcus Rodriguez's presence beside her before he spoke. "The Council's patrol ship just passed overhead. We have a 4-hour window before the next sweep." She nodded, her eyes fixed on the readings. The Council's patrols had become predictable over the years, their arrogance making them complacent. They never suspected that humans were studying their movements, learning their patterns, and using the gaps in their surveillance to conduct tests that would eventually shatter their containment. The engine's crystal matrix began to pulse with an inner light, creating patterns that seemed to fold space itself. "Energy levels holding steady," Raj announced, "approaching critical threshold." Unlike conventional engines that pushed against space-time, the quantum displacement drive would slip between its folds, leaving no trace of its passage. The theory had come from studying the few pieces of alien technology they had managed to salvage, combined with humanity's own innovative approach to quantum mechanics. The chamber hummed with power as the test continued. Monitoring devices tracked every fluctuation in the local space-time field, searching for the signature that would indicate success. Minutes ticked by intense silence. Suddenly, the readings spiked. The crystal matrix flared with brilliant light, and for a brief moment, a small probe in the chamber seemed to exist and not exist simultaneously. "Mark the time," Naomi called out. "Record everything." The light faded, and the probe reappeared fully. When they checked its internal chronometer and position data, excitement rippled through the control room. For 3 seconds, the probe had existed 2 meters away from its starting position, having moved there without traversing the space between. "It worked," Marcus whispered, his voice filled with awe. "We actually did it." But Naomi was already moving to the next phase. "Begin analysis of the energy signature. I want to know if the Council's sensors would have detected that displacement, and get me the latest data from Project Shadowveil." In another part of the complex, Dr. Yuki Tanaka led the team developing the technology that would hide their ships not just from sensors, but from sight itself. Combining metamaterials with quantum field manipulation, they were creating a cloak that would render vessels truly invisible. The work continued around the clock. While the world above maintained a facade of acceptance of their cosmic prison, thousands of scientists and engineers worked in secret facilities around the globe. Some focused on propulsion, others on stealth technology, and still others on the life support systems that would be needed for long-term space travel. Director Mikhail Volkov coordinated it all from a hidden command center beneath the Ural Mountains. As reports flowed in from various projects, he updated his master timeline. They were ahead of schedule. "The Council thinks they've contained us," he told his staff during their weekly briefing. "They see our surface activities, the Mars colonies, the lunar bases, and believe we've accepted their limitations. But humanity has never accepted chains, no matter how gilded." The briefing was interrupted by an urgent message from Naomi's team. The quantum displacement drive test had revealed something unexpected, a way to not only hide their ships, but to create false sensor readings that would fool the Council's monitoring stations. In the Atacama facility, Naomi and her team worked through the night, refining their discoveries. The quantum displacement effect didn't just move objects through space. It created a kind of wake in the quantum field, one that could be shaped and controlled. "We can use this," Marcus said, reviewing the data. "When our ships launch, we can make it appear as though they're heading toward Mars, while they actually slip away in another direction entirely." The breakthrough accelerated their timeline. Director Volkov ordered the first full-scale ship to begin construction in a massive underground facility beneath the Antarctic ice. The vessel would be called the Phoenix, a symbol of humanity's rise from the ashes of their containment. As the days passed, more pieces fell into place. Dr. Tanaka's team perfected the Shadowveil technology. The life support systems passed their final tests. The quantum displacement drive was scaled up successfully. 1 year later, Naomi stood in the control room once again, but this time she watched as the Phoenix took shape in its underground berth. The ship was unlike anything humanity had built before, sleek, dark, and virtually undetectable. "Final systems check complete," Marcus reported. "All technologies are integrated and functioning within parameters. We're ready for the first crew selection." Naomi nodded, feeling the weight of history on her shoulders. "Begin the selection process. We need the best of the best, people who can not only handle the technical challenges, but who understand the magnitude of what we're about to attempt." In orbit, the Council's monitoring stations continued their endless vigil, their sensors sweeping Earth and its nearby space. They registered nothing unusual, just another day in humanity's quiet, controlled existence. But beneath the surface, humanity was preparing to break free. The Phoenix would be their proof of concept, their first step back into the stars. And when it succeeded, it would open the door for everything that would follow. "They cast us out," Naomi said softly, touching the Phoenix's hull plans on her display. "Now we'll show them exactly what humanity can do when pushed too far." The countdown to launch had begun. Commander Olivia Chen stood on the bridge of the Phoenix, watching as the final preparations for launch were completed. The massive underground hangar beneath Antarctica's ice was alive with activity as technicians performed their last checks. 2,000 colonists slept in cryogenic pods, their lives entrusted to this revolutionary ship and its crew. "All systems are green," reported Lieutenant Thomas Blackwood from his station. "Shadowveil technology is operational. Quantum displacement drive is primed and ready." Olivia touched the captain's chair, feeling the weight of responsibility settle onto her shoulders. The Phoenix wasn't just a ship, it was humanity's first real chance at freedom since the quarantine began. "Begin launch sequence," she ordered. "Activate primary deception protocols." Above them, kilometers of ice began to part, revealing a narrow channel to the surface. The Phoenix's engines hummed to life, their sound dampened by advanced acoustic suppression systems. On the Council's monitoring stations, carefully crafted false readings showed nothing but typical background radiation from Earth's south pole. The ship rose smoothly through the ice channel, emerging into the dark Antarctic night. Immediately, its Shadowveil technology rendered it virtually invisible to both sight and sensors. Lieutenant Rashid Abbas, their navigation specialist, plotted their course, a seemingly random path that would look like space debris to any watching eyes. "Council patrol ship detected," announced Security Chief Kaori Tanaka, "passing at standard observation distance." Olivia nodded calmly, though her heart raced. "Maintain course. Let's see if all our preparation pays off." The patrol ship passed by without incident, its sensors registering only what the Phoenix wanted them to see, another piece of orbital debris, unremarkable and unthreatening. As they approached the quarantine line, the real test began. The boundary was marked by automated defense platforms, their weapons eternally vigilant. The Phoenix would have to pass between them, using its quantum displacement drive at precisely the right moment. "Drive spinning up," reported Dr. Raj Kumar, who had insisted on being part of this first mission. "Quantum matrix stable. Ready on your mark, Commander." Olivia took a deep breath. "Begin displacement sequence." For a brief moment, reality seemed to fold around them. The stars blurred, and everyone on the bridge felt a strange sensation, as if they were both here and somewhere else simultaneously. When their vision cleared, they had passed the quarantine line. They were free. The bridge erupted in quiet celebration, hugs, tears, and silent cheers. They had done what was thought impossible, escaped humanity's cosmic prison without detection. But their journey was far from over. The Phoenix had 3 months of travel ahead, heading toward a star system that the Council's records had marked as uninhabitable. Human scientists, studying stolen data, had determined that the system actually contained a perfectly habitable planet, one that would become humanity's first foothold beyond the quarantine. During the journey, Olivia spent many hours in the ship's observation deck, watching the stars streak by. Each one represented possibility, a future that the Council had tried to deny them. "Quite a view, isn't it?" Dr. Kumar joined her one evening, his eyes reflecting the starlight. "I never thought I'd see this in my lifetime." "Neither did I," Olivia admitted. "But here we are, proving that humanity won't be contained." Their conversation was interrupted by an urgent call from the bridge. "Commander," Lieutenant Blackwood's voice crackled over the comm, "we're picking up something unusual on long-range sensors." In the bridge, the sensor displays showed an unexpected energy signature ahead, artificial in nature. "It's a ship," Kaori confirmed after analyzing the data. "But not a Council design, something else." The discovery presented their first major challenge. Their mission parameters hadn't accounted for encountering other spacefaring races out here. The Council wasn't the only power in the galaxy, just the dominant one in their sector. "Options?" Olivia asked her crew. "We could alter course," Rashid suggested. "Add a few days to our journey but avoid any contact." "Or we maintain course but increase power to the Shadow Veil," Thomas added. "We're not supposed to be out here. Any contact could compromise everything we've worked for." Olivia studied the sensor readings. The ship ahead appeared to be a trader or explorer, not a military vessel, and it was following a course that suggested it was trying to avoid detection as well. "We're not the only ones who disagree with the Council's authority," she realized. "There could be potential allies out here." After careful consideration, she made her decision. Maintain course, but be ready to engage quantum displacement if needed. Let's see who else is traveling the spaces between Council territories. The next few hours were tense as they drew closer to the unknown vessel. When they were within communication range, they detected a transmission, a greeting in multiple languages, none of them Council standard. The message was clear. "To the vessel running dark, we see you, and we offer friendship to fellow travelers of the hidden ways." It was a moment that would change their mission's scope entirely. They had expected to find empty space and a single habitable planet. Instead, they were about to discover that the galaxy was full of races and civilizations that existed outside the Council's control, potential allies in humanity's quest for true freedom. "Send a response," Olivia ordered, a smile forming on her face. "Let's introduce ourselves to our new neighbors." The Phoenix's mission was evolving beyond its original parameters, becoming something greater. They weren't just establishing a single colony anymore. They were making humanity's first real friends among the stars. 10 years after the Phoenix's successful escape, humanity's hidden presence in the galaxy had grown beyond anyone's wildest expectations. On the planet New Haven, Governor Kenz Yamamoto stood at the window of his office, watching ships land and take off from the bustling spaceport below. What had started as a single colony of 2,000 brave souls had become a thriving city of over 100,000 humans and aliens alike. "The latest reports from the trading fleet, Governor," said his aide, Zara Hassan, placing a datapad on his desk. "Our network now spans 17 systems outside Council space." Kenzo smiled, remembering the day they'd first encountered the Free Traders Alliance. that mysterious ship the Phoenix had met during its maiden voyage. That meeting had opened doors they never knew existed, introducing them to an entire shadow economy of civilizations that operated beyond the Council's reach. In the decade since, humanity had proven themselves valuable allies. Their quantum displacement technology and shadow veil systems had revolutionized covert shipping, while their adaptability and innovation had earned them respect among the hidden cultures of the galaxy. Director Patel's report just came in as well, Zara continued. The Joint Research Facility on Nexus Station has made another breakthrough. Nexus Station, hidden in an artificial asteroid belt, had become the crown jewel of humanity's scientific advancement. There, Dr. Naomi Patel worked alongside scientists from a dozen different species, combining technologies and theories in ways the Council had never imagined possible. The station's latest achievement was particularly impressive, a quantum communication network that allowed instant, untraceable communication across vast distances. The Council still relied on conventional faster-than-light communications that could be monitored and intercepted. This new network would ensure the shadow civilization's continued secrecy and coordination. Commander Chen is requesting permission to proceed with Operation Starcross, Zara added, referring to Olivia Chen, now Admiral of Humanity's growing fleet. Kenzo accessed the classified files on his secure terminal. Operation Starcross was ambitious, perhaps their most daring plan yet. They had discovered that the Council's influence was not as absolute as it appeared. Whole sectors of space lay beyond their effective control, and many worlds chafed under their restrictive policies. Tell her she has authorization, he decided, but remind her to maintain absolute deniability. We're not ready to reveal ourselves, not yet. In orbit above New Haven, the shipyards worked constantly, producing vessels that combined human ingenuity with alien technology. The newest ship class, the Phantom series, could pass through Council space completely undetected, their quantum displacement drives now refined to perfection. Admiral Chen's flagship, the Shadowhawk, led a fleet of these vessels. They carried no weapons officially, but their research equipment could be converted to military use in hours if needed. It was a precaution they hoped never to use, but humanity had learned the hard way not to be defenseless. On Earth, the facade continued. The Council's monitoring stations observed a compliant humanity, busy with their Mars colonies and lunar bases. Occasional inspections found exactly what they expected, a civilization apparently resigned to its containment. The truth was far different. Earth had become humanity's greatest deception, a massive misdirection that kept the Council's eyes fixed in exactly the wrong direction. Deep beneath the Antarctic ice, the original launch facility had been expanded into a vast complex, coordinating the movement of people and resources off-world through quantum displacement portals. New development from our Council observers, Zara reported, interrupting Kenzo's thoughts. They're reducing patrol frequencies in the outer system. They think we're becoming complacent. Kenzo actually laughed at that. Humanity was anything but complacent. They were building, growing, forming alliances, and preparing for the day when they would finally reveal their true strength. In a secure conference room on Nexus Station, Dr. Patel presented her latest findings to the Shadow Council, the governing body of their hidden civilization. Representatives from Earth's governments sat alongside leaders from the Free Traders Alliance and other shadow powers. The quantum network is ready for full deployment, she announced. When complete, it will link every human settlement and friendly world in a communication web that the Council cannot detect or breach. Admiral Chen, attending via secure hologram, added her own report. Operation Starcross has begun. Our ships are making contact with isolated worlds, offering them a choice: continue under Council restrictions or join our network of free systems. The Shadow Council members nodded in approval. Their strategy was working. Instead of fighting the Council directly, they were simply making them irrelevant, building a new civilization in the spaces between their control. There's more, Naomi continued, her eyes bright with excitement. Our research into quantum mechanics has revealed something extraordinary. The Council's technology, their entire approach to space travel and communication, it's inefficient. They've stagnated, relying on the same methods for centuries. Our innovations, born from necessity and developed in secret, have already surpassed them in many ways. The implications were clear. When the time came to reveal themselves, humanity wouldn't be announcing their escape from prison. They would be emerging as equals, or perhaps even superiors, to those who had once judged them unworthy of the stars. Back on New Haven, Kenzo watched the sun set on another busy day. Ships disappeared into quantum displacement jumps, carrying human colonists, traders, and diplomats throughout their growing network of allies and settlements. Earth's quarantine had been meant to contain humanity. Instead, it had forced them to evolve, to innovate, to become something greater than they might have been otherwise. "They cast us out," he murmured, echoing the words that had become something of a motto among their hidden civilization. "Now we're building something better than they ever imagined." The Council's emergency session was called after 30 of their monitoring stations went dark simultaneously. High Chancellor Vexther, his bioluminescent patterns pulsing with agitation, watched as reports flooded in from across Council space. Something impossible was happening. "Another trade route has gone silent," announced a Centaurian analyst. "All communication beyond the Orion Spur has ceased." The Council chamber, usually a model of ordered civilization, had descended into chaos. Representatives from dozens of species demanded answers, their translators creating a cacophony of worried voices. That's when every holographic display in the chamber activated simultaneously, showing a face that made Vexther's patterns freeze in shock, a human face. "Greetings, High Chancellor," said Admiral Olivia Chen, her image clear and steady despite the fact that no human transmission should have been able to reach this chamber. "It's been 25 years since you cast humanity out. We think it's time for a reunion." Across Council space, the same transmission appeared on every communication channel. On planets, space stations, and ships, billions of beings watched as humanity broke its silence. "Your quarantine was meant to contain us," Olivia continued. "Instead, it forced us to evolve, to innovate, to become something far beyond what you imagined possible." On cue, ships began appearing throughout Council space, hundreds of them, simply blinking into existence as their quantum displacement drives deactivated. The vessels were unlike anything the Council had seen, their designs combining elements of various shadow civilizations with distinctly human innovation. In high orbit above Earth, the Council's monitoring stations found themselves surrounded by vessels that had appeared from nowhere. The Shadowhawk, Admiral Chen's flagship, decloaked directly in front of the main defense platform. "We're transmitting data packages to all Council systems," she announced. "You'll find evidence of everything we've achieved during our exile, the colonies we've built, the alliances we've formed, the civilizations we've helped free from your control." Governor Kenzo Yamamoto's image appeared alongside hers, speaking from New Haven. "We represent the Shadow Coalition, an alliance of free worlds and species who choose cooperation over control. Many of them were like us, deemed unready or too dangerous for your version of civilization." Dr. Naomi Patel appeared next, transmitting from Nexus Station. "Your technology has stagnated, High Chancellor. While you relied on brute force and intimidation, we developed quantum displacement drives, untraceable communication networks, and innovations you never dreamed possible. Your quarantine forced us to think differently, to solve problems you never had to face." The Council chamber erupted in outrage, but Vexther raised a hand for silence. His patterns had shifted to a deep blue of contemplation. "How?" he asked simply. "How did you hide this from us for so long?" "Because you saw what you expected to see," Olivia answered. "You watched our Mars colonies and lunar bases, never imagining we had spread far beyond them. Your arrogance blinded you to the possibility that we could surpass your restrictions." Throughout Council space, more ships were appearing, not just human vessels, but ships from dozens of other species.